Okay, whoop, set that up. So I'm not going to get big and fancy about this particular scoop. I just want to talk briefly about the Upknife, what it is, what the features are, and give you the real rundown. So I'm going to try to go through it as quickly as I can, even though there are a lot of features to this unique multifunctional tool. And let's start with what it says on the container. So it says, mostly I'm going to go down the list of functions. So it is a multi-purpose saw, bottle opener. It also, by the way, happens to open cans. Box wrenches, 9 SAE, metric, quarter-inch bit driver, wire stripper, tungsten carbide glass breaker tip, deep carry concealed pocket clip, integrated lanyard loop. It has some other features to keep in mind, but I'm going to try to go through them one at a time. So it is an out the front OTF. Okay, but it's not like any of the other OTFs out in the market. Unlike the other OTFs on the market, this has no spring forcing the blade out. Essentially, this is a safety knife. Very, very, very safe. It's certainly easy, relatively easy to open. I don't have a problem with it. But kids, people with not a lot of hand strength, or large hands are going to struggle with this knife. And it's actually kind of built into the functionality of it. The engineer who made it has kids around and wanted to have a knife that he felt comfortable leaving on a dinner table, knowing that it couldn't be picked up and used. And this knife in no way, shape, or form can be. Now, as you can see, one thing it does have, though, is it does have a spring pulling the blade back into the frame. The frame itself, by the way, is made of stainless steel, 304 stainless, and the blade goes through a channel to actually allow it to be retracted into the knife, and it is very, very, very smooth. This is the third one I've handled, all of which have been pretty much flawless, and the M2 variety specifically have almost no play. And actually, it's insane just how little play it is, considering it's actually riding inside the frame itself. There's nothing between the two. Now, the reason it can still retract is this spring actually has quite a bit of pressure, just under a pound. So, although it is relatively easy for me to use because I'm familiar with it, it may take a little practice at first. So, while we have it open, let's just talk about some of the different features. It has 1, 2, 3 wrenches, 3 wrenches on this side for a total of 6, and 2 additional ones over here, so a total of 8. Okay. On top of that, you have a wire stripping notch. Now, this blade is 440C that has been CNC'd not once but twice, and this wire stripping notch is fantastic for what it does. That comes in a large part because the engineer who designed it is also an electrician, an electrical engineer, I should say. So really amazing work on this particular tool, and it don't get the impression that it's also big. You look and compare it to, let's see, where Spidey Chef over here, and you'll see it's actually might even be thinner. So that can kind of give you an idea just how compact this multifunctional tool actually is. All right. Everything about this thing has been over-engineered to the nth degree. Between the frame itself and how tightly it fits the blade, and the fact that the blade itself has been hand cold ground to keep that 440C edge performing at a very, very high level. Even little hidden features such as the place to put the lubricant is a hole hidden behind the lanyard, which is pretty brilliant, really. And don't forget about the magnetic retention of a full hex bit driver. Okay, there's just so many features, it feels like an endless list. The etchings here are actually fiber laser, deep laser etched, and I gotta tell you, I've never felt anything like it. This is the second knife I've played with, and it's kind of voodoo. I'm not sure I understand how it's as good as it is, but because it's there, I really feel very secure when I'm opening it, holding the knife, and yet for some reason when I grip it, I still don't feel it like this. I feel it when I'm pushing straight down on it, but across doesn't seem to be there. It's the weirdest sensation. I do know that the reason that we don't see this often is that fiber laser etching like this is incredibly expensive, just insanely expensive. And a lot of these features on this knife are completely custom. The spring that's used was designed specifically for this knife and manufactured for this knife, this clip as well. The blade has been CNC'd in-house twice, and the frame itself was milled within Reich Enterprises. So everything about this knife was made in-house here in the US. It's kind of a unique piece. It is a multi-purpose tool. I would put it more comparable to a one-handable Swiss Army knife than it is to necessarily replacing like a knife that you can flick open like the Spidey Chef. Okay, what I do love about it though is not only do you have the full extension, but you also have a half stop. And this gives you access to a very small blade for doing fine tasks that you want to get up close and you want a nice comfortable grip. This is basically two knives in one, which I think is kind of something that could be explored further, and I'm excited to see where he takes it. Let me zoom in so we can see it a little bit better. He didn't skimp, let's put it that way. Every one of these screws, by the way, is way above needed tolerances. Yeah, I don't know what else to say other than it's probably one of the most unique knives that you could possibly put in your pocket, and people are going to ask you about it if you ever do it. And one of the things I liked so much about mine and about this one as well is the retraction sounds and feels like releasing the slide on a pistol. It has a similar sound, it has a similar feel. So if you are a gun lover, you are really going to enjoy the sound aspect of the Upknife. It has a very unique sound that I've never heard in any other knife. It has a kind of a swishing sound because you can hear the metal contact with the blade coming in, and the beauty of it is it will get smoother over time. It definitely will. And the one thing I will talk about in a longer review, I have one, and I went ahead and I tried to, quote unquote, not destroy it, but I wanted to see just how, resilient the mechanism was. So I buried it in sand and salt water, worked the sand into the mechanism, and then see how long it would take me to get it unclogged. Turns out it took a water bottle and some fresh water. That was it. That's all it took. And then I had the thing working again. Because of how simple the mechanism is, it was very easy to unclog. But just because it's simple does not mean this is easy to do. What makes this system work so well is the tolerances. And once again, I'll reiterate just how little play there is in this blade. Everything about the way this is put together is very, very carefully created. I've never seen anything like it. I'm pretty sure none of you have seen anything like it, unless you've seen the Upknife already. And yeah, it's just a really, really fascinating, multifunctional knife. Yeah, and there's not many of these out there. It's definitely just a labor of passion, and you're gonna see the quality when you get it. This was definitely made by somebody who made a knife they wanted to carry in their own pocket. Everything down to the fact that it has a magnetically retained hex bit driver, right? Or the fact that it has a exposed blade so that you can cut open the backs of, packaging without, exposing the blade. There's just so many little pieces here, so many little functions that I think I'm still figuring them all out, honestly. But this particular one is going to the gear draft. That's going to happen tomorrow. But I'm looking forward to getting mine back in my hands. I miss it, to be honest. And I think what I love the most is just how different the action is. I've never seen anything like it. If you probably tried a bunch of knives if you're here looking at this video. But this mechanism is unique. You'll never find anything else like it. So there it is. There's the Upknife. Thanks for stopping in and taking a look, and I will have a much longer review when I get mine back in my hands after it's had some pretty awesome little upgrades. So you guys have a good one, and take care.